had 2 years clean. I believed that if I could get clean, anything was possible. Because for some of you who don't know it, I had had a kidney removed while I was in the Navy that had a cancerous tumor in it. And 2 days after that, I was having heroin delivered to the hospital, still shooting dope. While I was in the hospital, still couldn't stop using. And it took me 9 months after that to finally make it to Miramar Naval Air Station to get cleaned up for the last time. And I got clean on September 15th, 1985. I checked into the treatment center and haven't found it necessary to use anything since that day. And I don't say this to impress anybody, but to impress upon you that if I'm capable of doing this, you're capable of doing the same thing. And so I began to have faith. I began to look back when they told me that I couldn't be in the Navy. And now listen, I had been in the Navy for 10 years. The Navy had taken care of me. Up until that time, sent me through treatment 2 times. And I began to wonder, man, can I really make it outside of here? But I also began to use my getting clean as a foundation for what could be done. Now, I don't know about any of you, but I struggled for a lot of years of really not wanting to use, but not knowing how to stop. Because, I mean, I had done inventories of my life from time to time about the turmoil and the unmanageability that drug addiction had put into my life. But I still couldn't stop using not only drug addiction, but nicotine addiction too. I mean, I would wind up in hospitals time and time again with asthma, even after I got clean, and still couldn't stop smoking. So I began to have faith that if these other guys went to the Culinary Institute in America, there's a built-in capacity for me to do the same thing. So 2 years later, after the Navy gave me a settlement and all that kind of stuff, I loaded up everything that I owned in my little 1986 Hyundai and drove from San Diego to Hyde Park, New York, 3,000 miles away, and took on this dream and this goal that I had. And I remember being in school for a while, and it was tough because we had culinary math. And when I was in high school, I didn't learn much at all. I used drugs. I started shooting heroin when I was a freshman in high school. And I was selling heroin. And so a lot of times I would be giving people bags of dope to do my homework for me throughout there. So my math wasn't really as where it should be as far as me being at the most prestigious chef school in America. And so one of the things that would happen is that I was having a difficult time. And I remember calling back to San Diego, talking to my sponsor, saying, well, you know what, George, I really don't think this is God's will for me to do this Culinary Institute thing. I think that I should just come back and become a drug counselor like so many people. New in recovery, we think that's the only gig we can hold, right? And so my sponsor said, hey, Sherman, I don't think it has anything to do with God's will. I think it's you just wanting to run again and not wanting to put your best step forward. And so it was those words of encouragement that made me just, bog down and get busy with doing the homework and doing the things I need to do. And I had to get a tutor. I had to get a tutor, and some young cat was tutoring me, which is humbling in itself. But the point of it, one of the things that I realized that because I had been in the program for a while, I had already worked the 4th and the 5th step at this point. And because I had already worked the 4th and the 5th step, I had exposed my deepest and my darkest secrets to my sponsor and other people. So nothing will ever be as bad as that. Even in working with this young tutor and telling them about my shortcomings and my limitations in this culinary math, it made it a lot easier for me. So because I had already been ingrained with the principles of recovery, it made it a lot for me to practice these principles in all my affairs. And this principle that was being called for is humility. So if we can have humility in our lives, and we get it early on by surrendering, getting into places like this, and waving that white flag and say, hey man, I give up. And be like Popeye, who said, I had all I could stand and I can't stand no more. Then the process begins to kick in for us. And so as a result of this faith, I wound up finishing school and went on to open up a restaurant in San Diego some years ago that had became Sherman's Cajun and Creole Buffet. And we were voted the best buffet in San Diego, 3 years running. Because of this faith, the same faith that I had to get clean has taken me in other areas in my life.